Ladies and gents, hello and a very warm welcome. My name's Aram and today I would like to answer a question that I got in one of the YouTube comments. So the question was all about a low back that is round and hunched. So right here. Is this okay? Will it hurt you? And if it will hurt you, what can you do about it? All right, first of all, yes, it will hurt you. That's a big issue. Essentially, if your low back is round and hunched here, your turning point of energy from feet to hand is not the hip joint anymore, or not exclusively, but it's actually, you add another turning point of forces here. Let me hop on a Byrower. This is a Byrower Pro in production. So in the workshop, of course, they're all in production. No covers on yet. This looks pretty cool. Transmission is quite massive. It's got rotating oar handles. You can essentially row any hand level you want, just like in a boat. So if you're small, you row here. If you're tall, you row there. Inboards rotate, they move independently. We have sensors left and right. We know how long your stroke is, your force curves. You essentially shape your stroke on land, hop in the boat, you're one synchronized team. So essentially synchronize your hand riding off the water, on land, and when you're on the water, it's already one way of influencing the boat. It's so much faster. It started as a private project 21 years ago. I had 1 to 3 day jobs to pay for this thing. I had no experience how to set it up. And essentially all my adult life, I tried to build the best rowing machine that I can. That was a project of my heart, and we've come to the point where there's a long waiting list now, and we sell globally to any country in the world. So much about the Byrower. If you want to learn more, it's byrower.com. Now, talking about the low back, the issue here is that if you're at the catch and you lack the strength here, this will happen. So of course you will get a bit more reach, and you may see this as an advantage, but it's not. The thing is that, you know, the extra 5 degrees of length don't pay if you cannot transfer the energy. So right now, the feet will start to apply force. Now at that stage, if I have a round back, my hip loads up my low back. And then the small stabilizer muscles around the spine have to withstand the massive load your legs can produce. So I leg press 360, 370 kilos. It's not the world, but it's certainly more than my back can handle. If I had a low back that was round and hunched, that's essentially gonna cause a herniated disc. And that's, unfortunately, today quite a common issue. The problem starts here at the finish. So hands lead out, and then we bend our knees early because we don't want to feel the stretch in the hamstrings. And then we never really catch up, and we end up here. I mean, this is a typical position a lot of rowers are in. The way it should happen is you go forward, rotate. Maybe not all the way into the catch position with your upper body, but at least as much as possible. And then you bend your knees, you post correct. Then you go to the catch and hold. Your shoulders at the same time need to be mobile. So that motion is hugely important. You cannot just be stiff here and row that way, because your hands need to go across. So let me show you the issue. On a linear erg, you can do this. It's essentially a deadlift, but eventually you will run out of energy to have a clean execution. This is why the back hurts quicker on a linear erg. Here in the boat, or in a Byrower in this case, there's actually a perpendicular motion. So you pull in, across, and out. And if you do this, you actually use more of the lateral chain. You do use the linear ones as well, certainly, but you don't overload the spine as badly. So the type of erg you're using does make a difference. That's why I did this, because I had injuries, and this was why Byrower started. Secondly, it is simply a matter of full range of motion strength in your pelvis. That is the key. Now, there are a couple things you can do about it. Let me show you. So the first thing is mobility. Mobilization, mobilization, mobilization. You should be able to do that, as if you were dancing salsa or samba. I'm not into dancing that much, but my sister is a tournament dancer, used to be a tournament dancer, and a couple of years ago I asked her, hey, can you come visit us and show the team and myself some of the crazy moves you guys do with your hip, with your pelvis. And she did. And there were a couple very important things. For example, if you do this, You should be able to keep your shoulders stable. I couldn't do this. I was all over the place. No, you don't want to rotate your shoulders. You want to be stable here. And then I thought, do we need this? Do we have to do this? Yes, we do. Because that's the middle of our body. When we are in a rowing boat, the force goes from the feet onto our hands. And the entire body is in between. So where will most of the forces end up meeting? Here. We better be able to use the center of our body. This is why I come to believe that mobility and strength, both, is key. I recorded a video a couple years ago. I will put the link in the description. It's called The Most Important Mobilization Routines. And I did it with Jakob. It's not a trailer-long video. It's simply a video where I explain all the exercises. And a lot of them are mobility of your pelvis and hip. That's essential. A, to be mobile, but B, it also teaches your proprioceptors how far a motion is actually possible. So there's a difference. If you, let's say shoulder rotation, that's a joke. That is a proper rotation. How far forward? How far up? How far back? How far down? That shows you what it can do. This is absolutely necessary. And don't neglect that part. I don't have time for this. Hey, I worked with a pilot once. And he would get up mid-flight and do a bit of mobility. There's always time to do this. And if you do this first thing in the morning, you will, at the beginning you feel like, I don't know. But the more you do this, the better you're going to feel. All right. Next thing, full range of motion, strength around your pelvis. Now, the first exercise I recommend you do, in my humble experience, this always works the best. Let's imagine that you guys are a mirror. So I watch myself in the mirror. Slightly bent knees, okay? And then I would try stick out a duck tail, shoulders back, extend my knees as much as possible, and go down, okay? And at that stage, you should be straight and almost parallel to the floor. I can't see myself now, just approximately. At the beginning, that's impossible. I was in your shoes. I appreciate that. At the beginning, you feel like it's impossible. But the way you get there is you go down, and eventually you feel like, you're becoming weak. Okay, you go down to a certain stage. You feel like, okay, that's become round. Hold it, get back. You go until you lose it, until you still can have. You should still be able to hold it. You just should be on the brink of losing it. Okay, and this is how you train. How many times? Don't overdo it. Every second day, I would say 30 repetitions. Hold for 2 to 5 seconds. If you do 10 reps, better than nothing, but just make sure you do something about it, okay? Next exercise, a high-tech coaching tool, a broom. You do the same thing. If you become somewhat proficient in these good mornings, you do this. Hold, back up. And eventually, of course, you're going to replace the broom with a proper barbell. Next exercise, a squat. Most people think the squat is all about legs. It's not. It's a full body exercise, and it's actually exercise around your pelvis and hip, because you need to be able to transfer force the right way. So if you're not able to do a proper squat, deep squat, I'm not talking about this, I'm talking about that. And I'm not perfect, so you can critique me, and rightfully so, please do. Then you should start with a squat against the wall. The way you do it, you start with about 1 foot or 2 feet away, hands above your head, and you go down as far as possible. Now, an often asked question is, can your knees go past your toes? It's not going to hurt you. It's actually going to be beneficial. However, for our task, I want to trigger the glutes. So I prefer to keep the knees not too far in the front and actually pretend to sit down or sit back, as if they were a chair, okay? Eventually, you should end up about 1 foot away, hands above your head, and you should be able to go down all the way without your hands touching the wall, okay? If you can do this, then our high-tech coaching tool comes into place again, and we're going to do an overhead deep squat like this, okay? And happily with a barbell. You don't need to put a lot of weight on it. For rowing, we don't need this that much, but you should feel that there's some weight. Because if you do an overhead deep squat this way, I can do it, coach. It's a difference. A broomstick is light, but try to hold a 45-pound barbell. You're gonna lose it, okay? So this is why I prefer to have a bit of weight so you feel better where you are. Okay, ladies and gents, let's recap. First of all, a hunched, low, round back is an issue. It's gonna create injuries in the long run. Second, you can solve it by mobilizing, mobilizing, mobilizing. I didn't talk about stretching. Stretching will help, but it will not give you power. You need strength, okay? So then we can do good mornings without a bar, good mornings with a broomstick, good morning with a barbell. Then you can do squats in front of a wall, regular squats, and overhead deep squats. If you spend a lot of time on a linear erg, try to get off the linear erg at least every 20 to 30 minutes for 10 minutes. Spend the time on a bike, on an elliptical, on a treadmill, whatever, but do something different. And a linear erg essentially is like a deadlift that has an increasingly bad execution because it's a linear pull, and there is no linear pull in the boat. It's always like in a boat or on the Byrower. I hope this video was helpful for you. I hope you got some benefit out of it. If you did, let me know, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share. I think a lot of people have this issue. Every Saturday, before we have our Saturday lives, I spend time, all day in Vienna. I see a lot of masters, the older they get, the less they seem to do the basics. Don't mobilize, don't do strength. That is hugely important. If you want to have your technique analyzed, there are a couple ways to do this. Go to rmtraining.com. I have 2 Zoom lives every Saturday. One is at 9:30 a.m. Vienna time in the morning, which is suitable for you guys in Australia and Asia, and New Zealand. New Zealand could be close call. And a second one at 8:30 p.m. Vienna, Austria time, which is suitable for you guys in North America and South America. Alrighty. If you want to work with me, rmtraining.com is the internet address. If you're interested in the Byrowers, byrower.com. I'll leave the links in the description below. I will leave a link to the mobilization video in the description below. And that's it for today, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are. I'm very much looking forward to your comments. This video is a response to one of your comments, so I appreciate that a lot. All the best. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.
It feels good, man. It feels good, right? Yo, I'm in the light at the end of the tunnel. Paper stacks, yeah, I got them in the bundles. Harry Potter breaking bread with a